Hello, and welcome to another edition of the Small Bear Show with your host, Alex S. Johnson. I'm an author, a editor, publisher, songwriter, artist, and now apparently filmmaker. And I'm in Carmichael, California. It's a suburb of Sacramento, the state capital of California. It's in Central California. And we do this Small Bear Show. Basically, because I run Nocturnicorn Books. It's a kind of a boutique literary imprint here, and I've done this for about 10 years. And I've had my authors have been just run the gamut of basically mostly dark fiction, by which I mean horror. I published Ramsey Campbell, Lucy Taylor, Sephora Giron, and the first iteration of the Junk Merchants, which was the Junk Merchants, a literary tribute to William Burroughs. We had a foreword by no less than Graham Masterton, and who was a collaborator with Burroughs, and he worked with him on Mayfair. Mayfair in 1965 in London. It was a kind of like a skin magazine. It was basically softcore porn, and Burroughs would contribute um, his stories. Can you imagine, right? Working with Burroughs on a kind of like just a men's magazine, basically, right? And so that's how he got to know Burroughs, and then they started to become friends, and then they began this process of collaboration, which resulted in this book called The Rules of Duel. And also, and so that had a number of distinguished, contributors. And that was just one book that we published. We've had a lot of firsts, like, for example, the first publication of this story called All the um, Heavenly, All the Hellish Cruelties of Heaven by Paula D. Ashe, who's very, very, who I'd known since about 2014, and went on to this story was later republished in 2022, I believe. John, do you remember when that story came out with We Are Here to Hurt Each Other?
I don't.
You
Not off
know,
the top of my head. It's
okay,
been
so it was nominated for the Bram Stoker Award, and it won the Shirley Jackson Award. And I was very, very proud of Paula because I was like, well, that was a first, right? And also the story by Lucy Taylor, Extremo Files, which was later reprinted in s- something and other stories, which was put out by, I believe, Cemetery Dance, right? And so we have, um, it's also, Nocturnicorn Books is also published in Caen, France, and by a guy named Dean M. Drinkle. So, who's an award-winning filmmaker and everything else. And some of our other contributors are like Tim Dry, who was one half of Tick and Talk, and he was a student. He was an actor in the movie uh, Return of the Jedi, right? He played a henchman of Jabba the Hutt, and he was like a student of Lindsay Kemp, who taught David Bowie and Kate Bush mime. So basically, we've had some incredible contributors. And so today on the Small Bear Show, um, we have Don Kingfisher Campbell, who very graciously, you know, agreed to be on the show at the last possible second. I'm very grateful to Don because he sponsored he hosted um, a show last year. What month was that, Don? We did the Gregor show.
I couldn't say. I'm sorry.
No, no worries, no worries.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
we did
That's
we
because
did
we do too much, you know.
we do too much, right?
No,
You took
you,
too much, too much. Right? If you guys have seen Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas, right? With Johnny Depp tells Benicio del Toro, or the other way around, like Benicio del Toro tells Johnny Depp, you took too much, right? Got the adrenochrome, you know. I love that movie. I've probably seen it more times than probably seen it more than 100 times. It's just one
yeah.
of those
It's one of my
films.
son's favorite movies.
It's a great
I know
film,
that.
and I just love movies, and so we have Don um, Kingfisher Campbell. He's a retired educator. He worked for Occidental College. He's a publisher. He does Kingfisher Poetry Forum. He does these readings, these Saturday afternoon poets readings. And you just helpfully reminded me today that I need to sign up for a slot. So then we have, and we're going to cycle back to everybody and back and forth. Um, just to give you guys the lay of the land. John Palisano, who is a Bram Stoker Award-winning author. His latest book, I believe, was Requiem. He wrote another book called something with Lisa Morton, right?
Place Arita about lizard
Oh,
people in Los Angeles. Yeah.
I love it. I love it.
Requiem's coming out in May
I
from
love it. I
Shooter.
can't read. I think I have a copy. I think I have a copy that who's that? Lisa from
Lisa Morton.
right, but Label, right, from Cemetery Dance. I think she sent
Yeah,
me
that came out from Leeds from Cemetery Dance.
from
Yeah.
Cemetery Dance, yeah.
Yeah.
And he's a past president of the Horror Writers Association, and as well as a screenwriter who's worked with people like Ridley Scott, and he was a sort of a you were an what apprentice to Ridley Scott, something like that, Ridley Scott Associates.
I was an assistant.
You were an assistant,
I was
okay.
one of his assistants.
So and John has been in everything. I mean, he's been in like Cemetery Dance, Los Angeles Times, Fangoria. He's what has he not done? So you know, I have no need to be jealous of anybody, but I'm honored that to have his friendship and endorsement. And he's also a contributor to with original stories yet, right? To Hand of Doom, a literary tribute to Black Sabbath, which is just that's such a heavy concept, right? It's like
Yeah.
it's such a heavy concept, first of all, which is literally the rough cut is literally in the hands of no less than Tony Iommi.
Very cool.
So, right. Um, and the other book that is well, two other books, The Junk Merchants, two, a literary tribute to William S. Burroughs. You contributed actually this was back in 2019. There's a long provenance to that, but you contributed a story called La Cañada. And you'd been in the previous um, iteration of the book, which was what was the story that you
The two
contributed?
junk merchants.
Yes, the two junk merchants, because that goes
Um,
way back to like 2016 or 2017.
yeah, there was one called La Cañada, and then there was another one. Gosh, the name escapes me, but they're kind of like two. They go together. Those two stories, and it's
Exactly.
about this couple of people they're addicted to centipede powder uh, out in California that's hallucinogenic. And one girl is, she's a stripper. He's a male stripper, so they kind of get along, and they go on these very Burroughs-esque kind of road trips in search of these centipedes, which only work if they're dried in the sun and then battered into powder.
Oh my
But
God.
that was very Burroughs-esque, the whole
I
thing.
approve of strippers. I just want to point this out.
Cool.
I approve.
Good people,
I
They
really,
are.
speaking of, you were
hardworking.
talking about the lizard people
That's what
and you were talking about strippers and everything else. I really miss Ray Garden. can we talk a little bit about Ray Garden? I don't, I want to get to Destiny, but you know, we lost him last year.
Yeah, it's we're losing a lot of people. And Ray was a great guy. I really liked him. Sweet guy. If you read his work, it was weird. And then he's such a sweetheart in real life. You're like, what?
Right.
I think that's
Yeah.
true of a lot of folks. They're so sweet in real life. They read their books and you're like, what is going on in that brain? I don't want to stay over to their house or nothing, but it's yeah, I think it's this, inevitable thing, I mean, we're losing a big generation of authors. It's this, and creators. It's tough, you know. So what are you gonna do? But he was great. Life Girls is a great book, and he's a great
Yeah.
short story writer. So
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah,
And well, he wrote Lot Lizards. That was what I
lot lizards too,
reminded
right?
me. Lot Lizards, which was weren't they like well, the Live Girls was about vampire hookers in Times Square, right? Vampire hookers
Wait,
who
he met me?
collected what?
I said,
Oh
wait, he met
man,
me?
That's awesome.
yeah. And
No, no, no. I didn't actually meet him. I was making a joke about the vampire hooker thing because I'm from New York area. So
Oh, awesome.
and then we have Destiny Pifer, who's a very distinguished author, put out her first novel last year from Unveiling Nightmares. What is the title of that? The House
The
something?
house that echoed madness.
The House That Echoed Madness, and she's been publishing for the last 20 years, I believe, and
Yes.
has had pieces in, such, you know, prestigious venues as Fate magazine. I really want to get back into that, and is a contributor to both to Hand of Doom, a literary tribute to Black Sabbath, as well as We Are Gregor, a wildfire relief anthology, and um, one more that the name escapes me. But so she's a multiple contributor, and then we have Ossiana Tepfenhart. They are an influencer, a blogger for Substack where they have 4,000 followers, and for Medium where they have 50,000 followers. And and we've only met each other like last week, I think, or 2 weeks ago, right? And Oceana immediately was like, "We're two peas in a pod," and I was like, I can't debate that because there's something eerie about how we seem to be vibing at the same level and are interested in the same things. So, and Oceana just contributed a well, two pieces. One was called A Note from a Fan, right? A Note from a Fan,
mhm.
which is going to be the first piece in White on White, a literary tribute to Bauhaus, and which John is also in. And Destiny, I would love to have your contribution. The I just sent the final manuscript to Billy Martin, aka Poppy Z Bright, um, about a week or 4 days ago. But if if people want to, be involved in basically the anthology of the century next to seriously, right? Though, I mean, it's got everybody. It's got who doesn't it have, right? It's got Ellen Mabey in it. It's and Don as well. I mean, it's got Ellen Mabey, it's got Jeribo, it's got our friends, our mutual friends, I hope they're mutual friends because they could be or they are. Caitlin R. Kiernan, who's New York Times said that they're one of our essential writers of dark fiction. They're two-time winners of the World Fantasy Awards and the Bram Stoker Award, which is not bad, right? We have. I'm talking about the. I'm talking about for both the Burroughs and the Bauhaus. We have original pieces by Carrie Lee Chrome, who founded a little band called The
The
Runaways
Runaways.
and wrote some songs called like Secrets, California Paradise, Waiting for the Night. I mean, if you've seen the film The Runaways, that's her band. She founded in the middle, I think, we're 1976 or 1977 with Joan Jett.
76, the junior year in high school for me.
What? What was that?
I was a junior in high school when their first album came out. Yeah.
Wow.
And
Um,
77 was Queens of Noise.
yes. So I don't remember.
Just showing
I was an
expertise.
embryo, but so this was Joan Jett was portrayed by Kristen Stewart, and Dakota Fanning played um, Sherry Curry, who's kind of a MAGA asshole. She has me blocked on Facebook. I'm just going to say that, and I don't think that anybody's going to dispute that MAGA is a bad thing. But I didn't really want to get into politics, but they're kind of, when it comes to especially everything that we hold valuable, um, so Sherry is this, so this film really f reflects mostly Joan Jett and Sherry Curry. It is not the true story. The true story is that Carrie Lee Crum created single-handedly, I mean, created the Runaways out of her own um, desire to create an all-girl kind of like rock and roll Ronettes, and and I just got an email from her like 2 days ago where she said she was basically like overwhelmed by what she called T's blitzkrieg, meaning Trump's blitzkrieg. So shout out to Carrie Lee Crump. We have Jarbo, and have you heard of Jarbo? You guys have heard of Jarbo, right?
The Living Jarbo, right?
What? As in Jarbo Devereaux, as in swans, right? Swans. We had let's see, who else do we have? Tara Vanflower from a band called Lycia, which was also collaborated with Typo Negative, among other things. And I was just talking with Tara this morning, and we've had her on the show. And then so we had like Graham, not Graham Masterson, but basically we have writers from around the world. And and it's very, we have John Shirley. Okay. And I know when I first mentioned to Ossiana that like, you know, Shirley and I are mutual fans of each other, it's just
I
like
fangirled just a little bit.
you fangirls. And I'm just
Uh-oh.
not only did Shirley like endorse my most recent book and called me the Baudelaire of our time, which seemed to be a bit hyperbolic to me. I'm sorry, but he'd also endorsed my book, The Death Jazz, back in 2012, which was the book that Ellen Mabey encouraged me to publish. And we're going to come back to Beyond Baroque. Like I read it from it at Beyond Baroque with Marie Lecrevin, and then with um, and also with Iris Berry. So I've kind of got feed in both like the music journalism, mostly music journalist, but also um, dark fiction and also beat poetry. And there's a lot of overlap. I mean, this is like the Venn diagram among these particular genres is like that. And so um, I guess what I want to do is I want to start um, talking to Don about his career, what he's been up to. Um, so Don, worked for Occidental College. Could you tell us a little bit about your work at Occidental?
It all started in about 1985,
Hmm.
and I was pretty much fresh out of college and looking to teach. And so I was just subbing at a local school. And one of the things that I had going for me was that if we finished our work and there was time left over in the period, I'd perform a poem for them. So I got the reputation as the poetry sub. So that got me a lot of work. And one of the people that gave me a lot of work worked in the upward bound program at Occidental College. And she asked me, "Oh, do you need a summer job?" Oh, yeah, sure. Well, interview with our director. And so I was 25 and I told him I can teach English through poetry. And he said, "Oh, that sounds just crazy enough. It might work. We'll give you a shot." And then I did that for 36 years. One of the innovations I'm proud of, because he gave me a lot of free leeway there for what I wanted to do, I would bring in guest poets every summer. And I don't mean a few. Uh, we had about 24 days of class, and I would have two guest poets each day.
Wow.
Oh, wow.
So, yeah. So they
Who's
got
your favorite
barraged.
poet?
Favorite poets that visited? Well, my very first one, Wanda Coleman.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, she
Oh,
started it.
wow.
That's
And
cool.
then so many after that.
Oh
Wow.
my gosh.
Matt Cedillo. I don't know if you know
Okay.
Matt Cedillo, but he's a great performer. And there's an up and coming kid, Mike Sonkson.
Okay. I need to write some of these things down. Yeah.
Yeah, he's
How do you spell that? Mike Saunton?
Sonkson,
Thompson.
Sonksen. Sonksen, yeah. And he's an LA historian,
Oh, wow.
really. Yeah. Excellent one at that. Oh, countless others like Ellen Maybe, Marie Lecravain,
Mary
some of the names you were naming
Leclerc. Yeah.
have been guest poets.
That's amazing.
Oh, what's that guy they ran for governor? Luis J. Rodriguez came by.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, that's only because we went to the same junior high school.
Oh, I see. Okay.
So
That's amazing. I really love, LA is such a rich, culturally, it's a city that's hosted so many people. I mean, you had Thomas Mann, you had who's the composer um who's known for the sort of dissonance um, Schoenberg, right? Arnold Schoenberg. You had these philosophers, you had um and these I think Baudrillard was living in LA for a while at least. And then you have this incredible history. You have like punk rock. I mean, you had like it's really, really far out. I mean, because you had people like the Cramps, the Germs, the whatever. You had um, Christian Death. You had 45 Grave. You have X. You have all these bands, and I kind of, Don has done some theme chapbooks through his Kingfisher. What is the his Four Feathers Press, right?
yeah,
And I've contributed to I think five or six of those right now. And what's the latest one that's just coming out or came out or
Hard Flames.
okay,
Yeah,
okay.
that's
There's
the current deadline. Yes.
okay. So
Yeah.
that's another one because you just sent me the PDF for the
Oh yeah. Well, that was let's see, Southern California Embrace. I didn't want to get that wrong. Southern
yeah.
California
Oh, so,
Embrace.
so there's a new one, you're saying.
Yeah, as there's two a month. The
Okay.
one is print and the other is online.
Okay. And what's the theme? Because this is open to everybody.
Yeah,
What,
absolutely.
what
Yes.
what's the theme?
So it's really quite simple. Heart
Okay.
Flames.
Okay.
Uh, do whatever you want with those words.
I love
Use
that.
one, use both, whatever.
One of my favorites was the
Yeah.
school shoes one.
Yeah, yeah. And these titles are chosen by readers.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Yeah. So
Um,
somebody actually dreamed up school shoes.
it's really
Okay,
cool.
we'll run with it.
Right. You mentioned, well, two people, Ellen Mabey and
Mm,
Marie Lecravan. I
mm.
actually met Marie through Ellen and Richard Modiano. And when I read it Beyond Baroque in 2012, and at the invitation of Ellen and Richard was the executive director at the time, and Ellen was running the bookstore, and I met her through Cal State Dominguez Hills because my co-instructor there, Melissa Williams, was telling me about this woman who's this incredible poet who who's really shy and giggled a lot, right? And I was
Yeah.
like, okay, well, I whoever this person is, they sound amazing. And so I started like I Facebook friended her, and it seems like yesterday because she was so positive. She's such a positive light of a source of real. She's a real like John and Richard are really fixtures of the and Emily Frank, of course, the real fixtures of LA arts and culture, and have done so much, and Marie Lecravan has done so much for us. And so, as publishers, as mentors, as just real helpful people, and I met a Marie through that through she was read at the same time that I was read from the Death Jazz, and then I got to know her, and then she was doing all these tribute anthologies, so she'll like for um, this one, for example, from the Four Chambered Heart in tribute to Anais Nin. And
Oh, yeah. I have a copy of that.
it's so good, right? It's got like Ellen Cardona and John Fitzgerald. It's got three of mine and a lot of Marie's and Angel Corrales and some incredibly distinct Alexis Rowan Fancher, who has been on the show, and
Legendary poet
she's right, and she's in the Bauhaus book as
and
well,
photographer.
right? And fabulous, fabulous. So and then from contributing
What?
to Marie's, I'm sorry.
I was going to say, you want a tasty piece of trivia on Ellen Mabey?
Oh yeah, yeah.
I worked at Beyond Broke back in 1993,
Okay.
and she had her first chapbook out around that time. And it was called Man's Best Friend.
Oh yeah.
You know what was on the cover?
A
Dollar
dog?
bill. A
Oh.
dollar bill.
A dollar bill.
An
Oh,
actual dollar bill
oh my
taped to
God.
the cover.
That's wild.
Yeah. That was my introduction to Ellen Mabey.
Oh my God. So,
I had to check this book out. Hey.
I have like so yeah like working for Marie with Marie Lecravan, that gave me the
Yeah,
idea to
sorry.
start doing the literary tributes. And that's what I started doing. Anthem, a tribute to um, Leonard Cohen. That was, I think that was my first. It was like 2016, 2017. This this is for the people I don't know anybody who doesn't know, who Ellen Mabey is and claims to be a fan of poetry or culture or arts. This is
Yeah, if you read Ellen, you're converted.
you're converted
She's
immediately.
so
Like
unique.
people like
Yeah.
James Taylor, not James Taylor. I got that mixed up. I'm sorry. Um, Our Lives in the Balance, right? That guy. Um, I keep forgetting his name, right? Running on empty. Jackson Brown. Jackson Brown is a fan. Henry Rollins is a mega fan. Who isn't a fan?
You said
And
Viggo Mortensen.
Viggo
No?
Mortensen, right?
No.
Who was in everything, like Lord of the Rings. Um,
Yeah.
this is like one of only, this is the last copy left of Ellen Maybe coloring book, which was actually published by our mutual friend Emily Frank, who also is on the board of directors for Beyond Broke and is the web mistress for a guy named Billy Bob Thornton. So, and this is
You
Ellen.
name dropper, you.
Yeah, well, I'm name dropping John Kingfisher Campbell. In fact,
Hey,
I named a
you're crazy,
character
man.
after you, dude. I named a character after you. You know, this
Yo,
is
Alex, I think you
Well,
dropped this. You dropped this
oh,
bag.
this is Ellen Maybe coloring book. Thanks so much, Alex, for your warmth and support. Best wishes, Ellen Maybe, okay? And she was in the
read
movie.
something from it. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
What? Read
Read
something from it?
something from it.
Okay,
Yeah.
cool. Why not?
Come on, convert
Oh
these
my
people.
God. Oh my God.
It's instantaneous,
It's
faster
it's
than God.
it's absolutely amazing, and it comes with like literally a coloring book, and it comes with like an Ellen Maybe like doll thing, the paper doll.
So you're catching
Uh,
the pattern now, right? The
yeah,
first chapbook, this one.
right. There's a lot of long poems. So, but I think like the first one,
You can read
well,
an excerpt if you don't want to read the whole thing.
yeah, this
Give
is
them a taste because she's got such a unique voice.
a unique voice.
Oh yeah.
So this is called
Thank you.
nobody can read like she does,
Oh
but
no.
I'll read like I do. This is called There's a Kingdom Made of String. There's a kingdom made of string. And could you
We got to kill our backgrounds. Yeah.
yeah, could you all please mute yourselves? Because okay, thank you very much. Okay, there's a kingdom made of string by Ellen Maybe. There's a kingdom made of string, shields composed of novels, and nerves held levitating. The swords are number infinite pencils with bright purple erasers that are too scuffed to forget anything. The horses quote Daniel Berrigan and Ted Berrigan and then dance into a Chagall sky.
There you go. And when she
Right.
reads it, mm, yeah.
Exactly. No horseshoes allowed, bare feet it is. There's a painter reciting Shakespeare. There's a pie made of laughter and proclamation, jousting the poetry slams of the past tense. She's funny as fuck. And it's sort of like she's like a combination of like a stand-up comedian from like the Borscht Belt or something, or and Allen Ginsberg and but she's really just herself. She's a kind of a
Mm.
genre of poetry called Ellen Maybe.
Yeah, she drops the joke bombs that are so poetic.
Joke bombs,
Yeah, they're just so casually, just boom, and your
right?
brain goes kaboom.
Your brain goes
Yes.
boom. The guard never changes. No one ever lets down their guard. Everyone's cautious or wild simultaneously. The king always seems to be opening a new thrift store called The Emperor's New Clothes. He pouts his ego down the eternal runaway. Notice it's not runway, which would be clever enough, but down the eternal runaway, right? His attitude on tightly like sweat,
Mm.
right?
Mhm.
He keeps his bassinet full of water, which he autographs with toothpaste, leaving a speck clear so he can do his ode to Narcissus. He feasts on tears of his servants. He has 9,000 people who will tell him what he wants to hear. He has 8,654 people who will never speak to him. He has 780 people who scream a lost language in their sleep. He has 50 people who sew devotional sonnets to him. He has 26 letters to work with, cranky consonants, voluminous vowels. He tears the hair of the alphabet out with a glance and a stanza. The people call him king behind his back. What could be worse than to be put on a pedestal, never to be called that guy who just happens to run the land? The people write anthems as their time is eaten away. He watches their dreams take on the geography of snakes. A collective slither creates a shiver in the world. People try to create a happy face. They dash off to all the makers of portraits looking for someone unscathed.
Good fun.
Right. But as soon as the lips start to go heaven bound, there's a metamorphosis into Munch's The Scream, and Munch hasn't even painted it yet. And I kind of almost feel bad that I've got the last copy. This is out of print now. Um, but you know what maybe I could, I don't know. I'll have to ask Ellen what she thinks because, you know, like about or ask Amelie, right? Because maybe we could do another run of it or something. What do you think?
Well, yes.
I say so because I
Yeah,
feel terribly
yeah,
This sounds
selfish
neat.
hogging it, right?
right. Yeah, we can all
It's a
pitch
master,
together, make it happen.
it's a masterpiece. It's absolutely brilliant. Okay, so we're gonna cycle around back to Dawn. Now, John Palisano, um, like I am the world's biggest Ridley Scott fan. So when I found out that you were an assistant to him, and and as you've said in interviews before, you kind of got inspired by the movie Alien. Now, I
Yeah.
don't know how old you are, but um,
Well, I don't want to give away my age, but
okay,
Alien
yeah,
was very formidable for me. It's still one of
yeah,
my favorites. There's a xenomorph I have right on my desk for inspiration,
yes,
and I always loved his films. I love the artistry. I just loved that they were very, very different because before Alien for me, my life was like Grease and Star Wars, which are great. I love those too. But I remember seeing Alien and it just did something profound to me. First of all, I had, a great female lead in Ripley, who was my hero. She reminded me of my mom, and I thought that was the coolest thing in the world. I loved the art direction. I liked that almost everybody died. I loved that the cat didn't die. The art direction, everything. I loved it. It's just, to me, I still love that movie. It still scares the F out of me, man, every
yes.
time I see it still. Um, so, when I was looking for, post college for somebody, a dream person to go and, you know, work with, it was top on my list. And all my professors were laughing at me saying, "Oh, no way, dude. My professor wouldn't sign the paper saying that I could go and start working with him." He said, "No, there's no way he's going to accept you," which I thought was really funny, and they called me up and I dropped in in LA and yeah, I aced the interview and there I was, I started right after the interview. That's Hollywood, right? They're like, "Okay, when can you start?" I'm like, "Well, whenever." Like, "How about now?" Like, "Great, let's do it. Let's do it, right? Let's
What did
go."
that entail? I mean, what's it like being an assistant to Ridley Scott? Does he just put you to work or how,
Yes.
how that? Wow.
Yes. All kinds of million little things, and one of the things that he has a bad reputation for temper, but he just doesn't have time for fools and people who are, coming in there and not wanting to really do the work and not wanting to jump in. And
Yeah.
I respected that. And he had a very diverse, workforce before, it was even a big thing. We had people from all over the world, all kinds of different people working there. It was kind of like we said it was like we were the people that didn't fit in anywhere else.
Yeah.
It was really cool. But yeah, I did all kinds of insane things you can probably imagine. And this was pre-internet. The internet was just starting. So it'd be like, hey, I want to know what the balustrades of a Roman Colosseum look like. John, can you go get me some pictures down at the library?
Nice.
So I'd
Nice.
have to go in these big books and, all do all these things, or hey, can you, all these kinds of crazy things we would do. Although
Yeah.
this is my favorite Ridley Scott story, and I'll stop with this. So one day I picked up the phone and I said hello, and this voice is, oh, I need to talk to Ridley. And I was like, okay, who's this? Stan. I'm like, Stan. I'm like, I need the last name. He said, you don't need the last name. Just tell him it's Stan. It's Stan. Stan's calling. And I was like, okay,
Stanley, isn't
okay.
it?
Winston.
Sorry.
It's Stanley, isn't it?
It was Stanley. And I went and I said, look, this guy is like being really persistent. He says his name's Stan, and he goes, oh, give me the phone. And it was Kubrick.
It was fucking
And
Kubrick.
it was Stanley Kubrick. And
Oh
I,
my
I
God.
almost had a heart attack when he told me after. And they were doing this top secret project together that had robots. They were half human and half robots. But I didn't know, they didn't say anything because he had all these stable of artists and everything. It was really like kind of cool and scary. And I remember going to see Eyes Wide Shut, and I'm watching that movie the whole time thinking, this is the most brilliant movie in the world. They're freaking robots. This is like living their lives. And at the end, Tom Cruise is going to turn his head and it's a robot. We're going to go cut, right? Because I'm thinking that's what Kubrick would do. And it didn't happen. I went out of the movie like, what the hell? Where were the robots? You know, they were saying he was doing his next movie, but it was obviously for AI, but we didn't know for years later
And
what
that
it
was
was.
Spielberg did that, right?
He took it over because Stanley
Yeah.
died, but they had been developing it for like 15 years. So
And
those
and
are the kind of things like that, that
yeah, exactly.
get to
That
experience.
is amazing. It was the thing was I just watched Alien again last night, you know, and it's one of my favorite all-time films. What really struck me is how it seems that he very deliberately, correct me if I'm wrong, took the sort of pristine, sterile, ice cold 2001 universe, and he added just like grunge and sweat and pit stains and cigarette smoke and
Yeah.
just like made it grungy.
Yeah, and I think in the late 70s there was that push to make science fiction like really kind of realistic. Like Star Wars did it to a degree
Yes,
as well. Like we made everything oily and like you said, greasy and kind of lived in. And I think but Alien went another step. Then Blade Runner went an even another step with that.
right.
So yeah, and it's pretty cool. The art direction in all those movies was unbelievable, and they're still copying it to this day. Everybody.
Yeah. We have another contributor to the Black Sabbath, which we're going to get to in just a second. Another contributor to the Black Sabbath tribute anthology, which is coming out from my imprint, Nocturnicorn Books, March 1st. It has John Shirley, it has Christy Nogle, it has Ai Yang, it has who's like just won the Nebula and the Bram Stoker. It's got Christy Nogle, who's won the Bram Stoker for Beulah. It's got we're waiting for Gemma Files, right? We're waiting for Gemma Files. I'm just like, how did my life get to this stage where I could say that? Who's also going to be in the Gregor book, the disability rights book as well. And so Paul M. Salmon, somebody I knew since the 90s, and I interviewed him for Cyber Psychos AOD, which was Jasmine Saling's magazine, and that magazine had an original story by John Shirley, who I seem to somehow Shirley and I are on a collision course with each other. I don't know what it is, but I was
Don't call him
involved with
Shirley.
what?
Don't call him Shirley. The Naked Gun. I always think of that.
Oh yeah, oh
Don't
yeah.
call me Shirley.
Don't call me Shirley. Oh my God. Yeah, we were in a magazine together. It was actually because of Paula Garan.
Hmm.
Um, and who was also a Bram Stoker Award winner. So I was in a magazine called Wet Bones, which was pretty much just John Shirley's thoughts on whatever. It's like basically, I'm John Shirley, shut up, you know. And and I also contributed to Bones of the Children, which is another thing. And I seem to just like, I don't know. I don't know. He's a giant in the field. I owe a lot to him. Talk about cyberpunk, right? And then so Paul M. Salmon is he was in a lot of he's a filmmaker. He's written for everything from like American um was it American Cinematheque to, or is that even a thing? No, Cahiers du Cinéma, is that even going? I don't know. He's been in Cine Fantastique for a long time, right? He was in I think he wrote for Gauntlet magazine. He wrote for everybody, and he was always in the year's best horror collections that were put out by edited by the late great Carl Edward Wagner. And I remember when I was a you know undergrad at UC Davis in comparative literature. I would go to the bookstore, and I would get those DAW collections, and those, the things like Janet Morris or whatever, and then the year's best horror every month it would come out. And I would never have imagined a million years that I would be friends with some of these people, let alone, you know, publish them. But like people like Lillian Schernicka, I have not published anything by her yet, but um, we're good friends, good buddies, a lot of good buddies. Writing community is sometimes horror gets a bad rap, but there's a lot of kind, caring people in this field. Paul M. Salmon is a brilliant man. He was one of his distinctions is he edited the book for St. Martin's Press called Splatterpunk's Extreme Horror.
Mm.
It's
Right.
basically the first splatterpunk anthology, and it started everything off. Um, and one of his many distinctions is that he wrote the book Future Noir: The Making of Blade Runner. He was embedded with the production of Blade Runner,
Yeah.
and he was a friend of Philip K. Dick, right? Talk about amazing, right? He knew Philip K. Dick, and he was there every second of the shooting of Blade Runner. Like, and he's contributing, he's rewriting his story that he wrote for Splatterpunk's 2 Over the Edge, which had um, people like Lucy Taylor, um, I think Krista Faust, my friend, old back in the day friend, like I kind of grew up with the guy Thomas Roche, um, and Kevin Andrew Murphy, and who writes who's also in the Sabbath book, um, and um, and and then he had like Poppy Z. Bright and John Skip and so forth in some of his
All
other
those splatterpunk kids.
in Splatterpunk, right? So
Yeah,
just
yeah.
truly extraordinary.
Hey, I see a thing in the chat I would like to address.
Yeah.
I wanted to hear about Destiny writing on Medium.
Oh,
I
yes.
think that sounds really cool. I don't want
It's
to
Destiny
hijack anything,
is
but I'd love to
Destiny
hear about
wring for
that.
Medium. I love that, and
I
thank
don't know
you.
how
Thank
much
you.
time we have. I didn't want to
Okay.
miss out
No,
on
no,
it.
no. We have as much, time as you like. Destiny, talk to us about
Yes.
writing for Medium.
Yeah, I
Thank you,
started
John.
out. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, I started out writing for the Pandemic Diaries
Hmm.
on Medium. That was during the COVID-19 pandemic. I was working in the healthcare field. I started out as a nurse's aide, and then I ended up being an entry screener. So I was right on the front lines, and I, of course,
Ooh.
ended up getting COVID-19 pneumonia, and I almost died from
Oh my
it.
gosh.
So I kind of kept a journal of, you know, my journey through that, what I witnessed,
Right.
especially working in the healthcare field, because I did enter screening at like the hospital, and it was a very scary, frightening time. We were overwhelmed with patients, and it was just something that I wanted to share with the world of what was going on, what the doctors and nurses were experiencing. And then I just started writing different journal entries and stories, and I just really enjoy sharing parts of my life with people.
That's amazing. That's amazing. So you're really like on the front lines, and wow, you
Yeah.
took one for the team. Thank you. Um, I want to say thank you for your service. Literally,
Same.
thank you for your service. You know, and and we're talking to Destiny. So I wanted to ask you because I've watched some of the interviews with you, and your some of your inspirations and influences. So you're a huge fan of people like R.L. Stine and Christopher Pike.
Yes.
The who so talk about some of your influences, and you're a big reader, like we're all big readers. Who are some of the people that made you want to write horror?
Well, it was definitely R.L. Stine and Christopher Pike.
Yes.
Um, I used to look forward to going to the bookstore at the mall just
Yeah.
so I could pick up the newest copies of their books.
Right.
And I just started falling in love with horror. The genre, it just spoke to me, and I started reading like Caroline Cooney, Ruby Jean Jensen, Michael McDowell,
Michael McDowell.
um, yeah, and Anne Rice, and I just started going from there, reading different horror
Yeah.
writers, and it taught me a lot, and it helped me to become a better writer.
Yeah. That is great. So you and John both contributed to the Black Sabbath book. And so could you, yes, Black Sabbath. Um, louder. So
Jen!
could you
Wait, wait.
I can't fucking hear you. So Destiny, could you tell the people, and then we're gonna cycle around back to John a bit later, but could you like tell my viewers about like the genesis of your story that you wrote for the Sabbath book?
I'm trying to remember what it was called.
Yeah. Oh,
I've written
thank
so
you.
many stories.
Yes, I know, me too. I just think, um, and I'm blanking on it, but anyway, so
I know that I was a big fan of theirs since I was in grade school.
right,
Um, I loved Ozzy Osbourne and Black Sabbath. I just found them to be really amazing. And
yeah,
I believe that every one of their songs like told a story.
right,
And I just thought that that was totally
very
amazing.
much so, very much so. Yeah, I mean, that's true, and what's really interesting about this book, which we're doing for, um, I have to give a shout out to Dr. Lois Lee of Children of the Night Incorporated, who's our official charity partner. And we're doing this. Everybody who's written a story, an original story, is donating their time and skill and talent, to this to the cause of Children of the Night Incorporated. And so a little bit about Dr. Lois Lee, founded Children of the Night Incorporated back in 1979. She is a sociologist, and she has a PhD in sociology. She's also an attorney. And she started this nonprofit organization because of what she saw is it's a devastating epidemic. I don't know what the good word is for child sex trafficking, especially, you know, is rampant in LA, but it's everywhere. It's everywhere in the world. It's one of the scourge of our times, and child pornography is just one of the greatest evils known to man. And it's a huge industry. It's just, you know, and and so as an attorney, as a sociologist, as somebody who sees the devastation of, what being sold into prostitution does to little kids and, boys and girls, that that and all the runaways, talk about the runaways. We were talking about Carrie Lee Crum um, earlier, that she saw this you see these children, right? They come in from on like Greyhound buses for whatever from the Midwest, and they don't then they think that they're going to be a star. And it's like a lot of the people in the runaways, basically they were escaping abuse. A lot of these children are escaping abuse, and I know that Carrie and Jackie Fuchs from who was the bassist for the Runaways, actually had to quit the Runaways because, well, it's a long story, but people can Google that, and people can Google Carrie Lee Chrome and Kim Fowley, and I'll leave it at that. And anyway, so there was a lot of predators in Hollywood, and there's a whole predator network. It is it's one of the, and as John certainly understands, I mean, it's one of the, it's a living evil that is just right below the surface of the entertainment industry. Something that I spent okay, sure. Um I spent 20 years in LA, and I worked in the entertainment industry as a music journalist. I was, I knew, people like Lemmy Kilmister. I interviewed practically every band, that there is. And I so really got to see a lot of scary shit, you know, especially with the whole nexus of drugs and everything else, because when you have rock and roll, you have drugs, you have substance abuse, and then um you have disgusting, awful, evil behavior. So she wanted to do something about that. So she created this organization. And it's so far they've rescued, I think, more than 10,000 children from sex traffickers. They were awarded, by Ronald Reagan, gave them an award for their work. They worked with governments around the world, worked with Homeland Security, with the FBI, and are seriously good people. And also worked with the late great David Lynch. We just lost, right? John was talking about the people we've lost. We lost David Lynch, and she worked with the David Lynch Foundation, and who is into was it transcendental meditation, right? So then she these children, um basically, what the sex traffickers do is they try to keep them trauma bonded to them by saying, by gaslighting them and saying, you're no good, you're worthless, all you are is just, you're basically a piece of meat, right? And and so they have to be deprogrammed, and they have to be educated that they're wonderful, lovely, intelligent, beautiful, independent beings, that they're not somebody's property, that they're not worthless, that they belong, that they're loved. And as an educator, um, I just felt profoundly moved by her story. And then when I was interviewed Ronnie James Dio, the late great Ronnie James Dio, right? Um, I just got my Heaven and Hell tour shirt, but anyway, I've got more of my William S. Burroughs thing going on here. But I interviewed him I was a staff writer for Zero Tolerance magazine, and a columnist alongside Sarah Jezebel Diva from, Cradle of Filth and She's now with Covenant and the Covenant and a bunch of other bands too. Shout out to Sarah Jezebel Diva, right? And Cradle of Filth, man. And so I was asking, um, okay, um, so John has to go in about 5 minutes. So, um, is there anything? So I wanted to, if possible, enroll you, John, and we'll talk later by email in Burning Hearts, the a Wildfire Relief Anthology, because it's not just a book anymore. It's a documentary,
Okay.
and which I'm doing with a woman named Vanessa H. Smith, Vanessa Hedwig Smith, who is an award-winning filmmaker in New York. And she's worked with Martin Scorsese. She's worked with, I believe she's worked with Ridley Scott. She has worked with, His Holiness the Dalai Lama, and she's a heavyweight. Um, and another person that we're working with, Alexis Kraslovsky, is she's a woman who they were both, um, Alexis Kraslovsky um, directed um, a couple of movies that are beyond important. But her first film was she documented Martin Luther King Jr.'s last March. Okay, and anyway, so we're working together on this project, this documentary film, which is in and around my life and associations, but it's really a sort of re reconceptualizing what charity is. And we're doing a series of readings. We're going to be doing a special readings in LA, particularly. We're going to be at the AWP conference on March 27th, right? Our artists and writers and you know writers, American writers and poets, I believe, right? And Beyond Baroque on the 21st. And we're going to be filming everything. So I would love if you could come out to any and all of these things. And as if you're in LA, Dawn, then I would love to have you. And Oceana is in New Jersey, so that's just so I would really love to have your involvement. And if we could film you separately or together or whatever. Um, and we're talking about the caliber of people, the level of people that we're talking to be involved in this film. Madonna. Okay, so it's very,
Never heard of her.
I don't know anything about, I know there's this Stephanie Germanotta
I
chick
don't know.
Yep, Lady
who's
Gaga.
Gaga, right? Yeah,
Mhm.
Gaga.
I'm
So
Gaga for Gaga.
I'm Gaga for Gaga. So I love you, John, very much, and you're a brilliant man. And thank you so much for participating here, and I hope to have you back sometime.
Yeah, definitely. And shoot me an email, or whatever. We can figure all that stuff out. It's not too hard in this day and
Yeah,
age.
Huge fan.
yeah, right on.
Cool.
And
Thank you.
congratulations
Awesome.
on Requiem, and that's
Thank
that's
you.
that's from Simon and Schuster,
Yes,
if I'm not mistaken. And
it is.
what is you're so prolific. What is what do you want to plug? Just plug away.
I think that's the most important thing right now is the Requiem pre-order that's
Yeah.
out. I think that's the big, 800-pound, tentpole release in my life this year. So yeah, I'm sure there's links it's easily found. So yeah, thank you. And it's been
Thank you.
great. It's been great meeting everybody here. I wish I could stay a little longer. But yeah, Alex, you're great, and we've known each other for a long time. It's nice to actually talk to you and meet, in
Yeah,
person, semi in person, but
right. Yeah.
and everybody else too. I hope we can connect elsewhere. So very cool. Thank you so much for
Thank you
having
so
me.
much,
It's been
John.
awesome.
Right on.
All right.
Okay, so I think now we'll go to Oceana. Okay, so Oceana is an amazing person. I mean, a child prodigy. She started as a child prodigy, And right. And you went to this like college at some ridiculous age, right?
I started sitting in on classes when I was about 11 or 12.
Okay. So, wow.
I only started taking college courses for credit when I turned 14. So it's not like
Oh,
that
oh,
impressive.
oh, it's a kind of a late start, right? 14. I mean, you're a little bit, gray in the, you know, long in the tooth for that. But,
I mean, I went to a high school where college courses were also part of the regular standard education,
okay.
but that usually started around like 15, 16.
Oh, wow. That's light,
But
man.
like my parents were both college professors and they didn't want to pay a babysitter. So, yeah, that was my babysitter.
Wow. And so you write for as like Destiny, you also write for Medium, right?
hmm
And you have 50,000 followers.
Yep.
How did you achieve that?
So, fun story. Um, I actually didn't start off wanting to be a writer. Um, when before I was 18, I was a history and anthropology major with a minor in French. Then when I turned 18, at the pressure of certain people in my family, I became a clinical lab specializing in cytotechnology, software engineering, and mathematics major with a minor in physics. I had a
What
nervous
is what is
breakdown.
what is cyto? I'm sorry, what is cytotechnology?
So, cytotechnology is a form of lab work that focuses on the cytoplasm of your cells.
Okay, so that is the active animalcule of the cell, right? That is like the power plant of the cell. I
No, that's the
probably
mitochondria.
That's a mitochondria. See, I'm way off base. Okay.
But cytoplasm is pretty much like think of it like the plasma of blood, except on like a cellular. Well, anyway, then again, I was like completely wasted like 90% of the time I was in those classes. So I had a little bit of a mental breakdown, ended up getting involved with scary people who did things. I got out, I became a model, and I was like, this is going to be what I'm going to do for the rest of my life. It was not. I could not take the crap. So I model more recreationally now and just like for my influencing, but I'm no longer a full-time model. I could not deal with the standards that they were putting on me when all I wanted to do was just, walk on a runway. I was 5'9" and I was 115 pounds and they're still telling me to lose weight. I was a size 00. So I didn't like that. And then after a while I started to just get tired of people viewing me as like at the time I was like a dark redhead and I was like, why does everybody only see me as a dumb goth? So I started to write and then I started making money writing. And then I was a freelance writer. I was very scared of actually starting up my own medium, believe it or not. And I ended up having to get one done for this ad agency I was doing freelance work for one of their experiments. The experiment failed miserably, but after I was at a party, I had a drug overdose. I took the
Sorry.
wrong drug. I was bedridden for a couple of days, and I was like, "Well, crap! I can't do any of the stuff I normally do. What do I do now?" I had to spend time by writing a single Medium article every day. Within that first week, one of my articles went hyper viral,
Nice.
and it was about 500,000 views on Medium.
Nice.
And that's how I got my first 6,000 followers. And I was like, wait, I just made 20 grand off of one article.
Damn, Skippy.
I was like, you know what? Maybe I should keep doing this. So I just kept posting every day and it just kept growing. And that's kind of how I kind of fell into the influencer life as well.
That is so amazing. Damn, I'm just blown away. I mean, I've been impressed since I met you, but like that is hardcore. That is hardcore. So you know all that science stuff as well. Wow, damn. You rock. You rock so hard. So
Like,
recently, so recently we worked together um, with the Bauhaus um, and the Burning Heart. So could you tell my viewers about the Bauhaus piece?
So the Bauhaus piece was, as I said before, I was a goth in high school and college. Like there was something about the music that really struck me. You know what I mean? And when I first found out about the goth movement, first off, you know how most girls like boy bands like Backstreet Boys and NSYNC?
Right.
I was not allowed to watch mainstream TV, but occasionally I'd sneak it in. Of course, MTV shows me the first music video of a goth band, and it had to be Orgy with
Ah.
Jay Gordon and Amir Derakh. And I was like, these men are wearing makeup and they're beautiful. I was like, I want to look just like them.
Yes.
Because so I started listening to industrial as soon as I could figure out how to get my paws on the music. So everything I heard before then was electronica, Nine Inch Nails, Trent Reznor.
Yes.
If it wasn't on antimtv.com, I would not listen to it. And I was one of those people who, even though I was 18 years old and I was a complete cringe of a human being back then, like I'd be like, you're not listening to oh, if we can be friends. So believe it or not, but that's besides the point. I go downstairs and I first hear Bauhaus. And I'm like,
Ah.
what is this? They're like, it's goth music. This is goth music? Yes. It's like, I need to know more about this band. So I literally approached the bartender. I was like, bro, I'm not asking for a drink. Just tell me the name of the band. Just write it on this
Hook me
tissue
up,
paper.
bro.
Literally. And then I started listening to Bauhaus. I was like, wow, I'm an idiot. And that was like the moment where I was like, wow, I really don't know much about music. I was writing off so much good music just because it wasn't in my particular genre. And Bauhaus just kind of opened me up to that. And that's the
Hmm.
entire story there.
Yeah, yeah, it's a great piece. It's a great piece. And I just sent that off to Billy Martin and David J.
Uh,
Haskins, right? And it just like it's not a thing, right? It's like and you're like, no, no, no. I'm so, you know,
if
I'm
you see me
so
just like disappear under my shirt, just pretend that there's like a smiley face there and that I'm completely composed. It's cool.
I love making these things happen, you know. I really love it. Yeah. So and then the Burning Hearts thing. So the Burning Hearts was very much of a kind of referential to something that we kind of have in common too. I had some problems. I mean, I got over them because I couldn't sustain. I'm not. I can't really. I abuse anything, and if it isn't like substances, it's sort of like I'll use whatever. And I sort of use workaholism now as a way of coping with my brain injury and my, disability. But I focus on harm minimization. So it's if my worst excess is working around the clock doing these, you know, like working with amazing people like Billy Martin, like yourself, like Destiny, like Dawn, and doing these great books and kind of making, remember like Fantasy Island, like Mr. What was his name? Like Ricardo Montalban,
Toto,
right?
let us make all your fantasies come true.
Fantasies come true. Welcome to Fantasy Island, right? The plane. I feel like him, like I can, like I can make things happen. And so the Burning Hearts thing, which is also is soon to be a feature film, we are working on that. And also, this is just amazing. I mean, of amazing things, because Vanessa H. Smith who was the one who approached me about, she's a filmmaker who approached me and she said, "This should be a movie." And I was like, "Really?" And I was like, "Yes." But she wanted to have the theme song because you like for every like documentary, which is a charity documentary, or just a rousing powerhouse of a concert film or whatever it turns out to be now, because it's growing insanely by the second. You know who we just got on board? Krista Fuller. You ever heard Krista Fuller? She was the widow of Samuel Fuller who made Shock Corridor, and she was an actress with Jean-Luc Godard, and she's a screenwriter, and she and Sam Fuller were going to make a movie called The Flowers of Evil, and she just friended me like 2 days ago, and she's like, and she's waving. I'm like, Christopher, for Christopher. Oh my, oh my Lord, Krista Fuller. You're Krista Fuller. You were an actress in Alphaville. She was in Alphaville, right? I mean, that is like the French New Wave, baby. Um, and so I immediately, and then when I found out that she was a huge Bauhaus fan, and she wanted to make this movie called The Flowers of Evil for years. And I'm like, bingo. Um, so that is, yes, you make content. You make content.
Yes.
So let's talk about some of the content.
Oh man. So I still do model, mostly for promo of my articles and because a lot of my readers apparently start to have crushes on me. Um, like, look, man, if the shoe fits, I'll wear it. Um, I also on and off occasionally just like have my own podcast slash YouTube channel, and because I have ties to a certain gentleman's industry.
Oh, gentleman's industry.
Well, whatever you would call OF, I was a VP of marketing for like two different platforms. Um,
Oh, OF. Off.
yes,
Off.
off.
Yes. One off.
So, like 90% of like my friends in my day to day, who are still in the modeling industry, though I do have a couple who've, done Vogue Italy and stuff like that.
Yeah,
Most of them are people like,
I
say,
suppose.
Stormy Daniels, though
Right.
I don't actually talk to her. But like people like Evan Stone, Autumn South. Um,
Yeah.
so I occasionally will just have them on and I'll just kvetch and kibitz with them because they're just fun people.
I really would like, I would love to have them on my show. If you could hook a white man up with all these folks. Yeah.
I know that you and Autumn would probably get along because she and her manager, they actually are trying to kick off a movie called Tornado. And it's a
Tornado, I love it.
sci-fi, yeah, it's a sci-fi flick where aliens come down and they're like attacking porn stars because they're hot. It's like the most beautifully campy thing I've seen in like a hot minute, and I love it. I love that for them too.
That's so badass. Yeah. So wow, I mean I knew that you, yeah, I had a yesterday I had a follower from who has an OF, and I said, "Hey, would you like to be, contribute to my books or be on my show?" And they were said that I needed to sign up for a session or something. And I was like, "Well, no." And I blocked them.
No,
I blocked them. Um, just like, what
oy
the
vey
fuck?
gewalt.
It's like people are very short-sighted with me. I'll often they don't realize that I can, I'm like, I feel like Ray Fiennes in Strange Days. I'm the magic man. But if you're like just short-sighted and you want to, you know just be, you know abusive to me, then that's not going
That's
to happen, you
that's
know.
the thing that most people don't realize about OF models in particular. Like across the board, models do not make as much money as people think they do.
Right.
It's only like the top 1% who can actually sustain themselves. And
Yeah.
when I was working beauty and fashion, I was making the equivalent of a slightly above minimum wage job, even though I was with an agency. I was a size 00.
Right.
Um, like I even had like a tear sheet or two with some pretty major magazines.
Nice.
So like with all that work that you put in, you really don't get that much. Since I quit doing modeling full time, it's gotten about 10 times worse unless you're like with one of like the top 10 modeling agencies in the nation. That's where all the money is. You'll see people doing $25,000 a shoot in those agencies.
Right.
But for OnlyFans, for example, do you know how much the average OnlyFans model makes month to month?
No.
It's less than 200 bucks.
What? Oh, wow.
You're considered to be like top 20%, I think, if you make 1,000 a month.
What? That's ridiculous.
Yeah, it's jaw-dropping, and the amount of work that they have to do to actually get that money and actually market themselves is absurd, which is why I actually had spent so much time teaming up with this one company that their algorithm uses AI to help models advertise themselves without them actually having to do the work.
Okay, cool.
But the amount of money that these people make is so little, and it's such a huge commitment, not only of your time and your
Right.
resources,
Right. Right.
but you also can't get certain jobs once you become a model of any type.
Yeah.
So part of it was always like me bringing out awareness about that. And the other part of it, I just hear people do stupid stuff like that where they could have gotten a book deal. And I'm like, oh my God, sweetie, what did you do? Like, bro.
Yeah. Yeah.
Destiny, I feel like you want to say something.
Yeah, yeah. Destiny.
I, when I was younger, I wanted to be a model, but I was told because of my jaw that I wasn't pretty enough.
Destiny, I'm sorry, did President Trump recently sign an executive order saying that you can't become a model?
No.
Did one of those GOP politicians decide to write something into law? Is there now a Supreme Court case about it?
No.
Then go out there and start doing some photo shoots. Models come in
Amen.
almost every single,
Amen.
no, like dead ass. Models come in almost every single size and shape. One of the wealthiest models I know, she has a 4-story house in the heart of Baltimore.
Wow.
You know how much she weighs?
How much?
She's about 300.
Wow.
When you look at her, you would never guess that she's actually one of the top models in her field. But let me tell you something. She knows how to work it, she's confident on stage, and she markets herself. There is nothing stopping you. Don't let the bastards get you down. That's how they win.
Yes. Something carborundum.
Yeah, something
Yeah.
carbonara, exactly what he said.
Yes. Yes. The thing. Yeah. Right on. Boy, I forgot what I was going to ask. Oh yes, last news on the left. Tell my viewers about last news on the left.
So I don't think that I'm the only one who's noticed this, and pardon me if I'm hallucinating. Sometimes that does happen. But did anybody else notice that mainstream media started to kiss the ring a lot?
Yes. What was that? Jake Tephart, or was that his name, or um,
Um,
I forget. So somebody had to resign just last week.
yeah, I think that was Adam something. I forget,
Yes.
I forget. There's like a million of them. They're resigning left and right.
Right.
And we've started to get into the point where billionaires are really starting to tighten the reins on mainstream media. Now, the thing is that officially we do have freedom of the press, but we don't have freedom of money for the press. And they've been kind of weaponizing that. So what I started to do, I was like, you know what? How about we get an open forum of tried and true people who believe in left-wing causes, who believe in science, who believe in social justice, who believe in inclusivity, and let's get them all writing about what they're seeing on the ground, or we get them to report on things that they find online from reputable sources outside of the US because our mainstream media has been compromised. So it's pretty much an open forum. It's an open zine. People can write when they want to write. People can offer advice. I just ask that it's factual. I will be reading everything that's being posted. Um, and I want to see people actually still have a forum where they can talk about things and where they can actually get some sort of reliable voice of sanity in these insane times because, well, I do not trust mainstream media anymore, and I don't think any of us should.
Yeah, I was trying to figure out how to contribute to it, and I don't know. Maybe I could
I
send you shit or
you Yeah, absolutely.
yeah.
I think that I'm gonna have to
I'm
send
sorry,
like
that
a
was
link.
crudely phrased. I didn't mean to send you shit. Like I'm a professional journalist. I should be more have use my words, but
I'm just gonna point out Ozzy Osbourne once met with a record executive
mhm.
and he felt the thing was going very badly, so he got pissed drunk, gave the executive a sensual dance, tried to kiss him on the lips, and when that didn't work, pissed in the executive's wine glass. He still
Yeah.
got the contract. Professionalism can look in a multitude of different ways. If you want to swear words, who am I to judge you? Come on.
Right. Okay. Truth. Yeah, I will just send you things and yeah. So
Also open to anyone here. If
what
you
what
guys want
what
to contribute.
exactly Dawn Destiny yes, wide open. And as a matter of fact, this is really cool because I have a friend who's also a contributor to the Bros book and the Small Bear Review. Also, another thing, Small Bear Review, it's I just started it just to basically publish myself and anybody who wants to, it's a little Substack thing I do. And I think that's how we met, right?
Hmm.
The Small Bear Review. And so Dawn, Destiny, we'd really love to have you contribute anything really, short stories or poetry or rants and raves. And so yeah, so Greg Tomani, he's a good friend of mine. He's a theologian, philosopher, poet, artist. He's one of these. I think we're all kind of multi-genre, and he works with Cornel West, right? He's a friend of Cornel West, who's kind of um, wrote the forward to his master's thesis, and he's working as he's the human rights. He's the ambassador for international ambassador for the Myanmar refugees. They're Muslim refugees from Myanmar, and they're which is in Burma, and they wound up in I believe Bangladesh. So they were ousted, and it's a genocidal situation. And so he hooked me up with the main guy there among I think it's called Rohingya, the Rohingya people. And that is something that is we don't hear anything about this genocide in of the Myanmar refugees. It was a genocidal situation. Um, it's a realtor now. So that is something that what's interesting about Greg's perspective, and I think he could write something for you, is that he he's looking to to get funding from even people like the Saudis, which to me I thought, well, that's stupid,
Uh,
but his he's a sweet guy, and no, I mean he's one of the world's no, I shouldn't have said anything, but
Well, I mean, like getting funding from the Saudis. Last time I heard about a Saudi
see,
anything getting an interaction with a journalist, the thing literally fell to pieces, and I was talking about the journalist there.
right, but I had him on the show, and I told him, I said, look, they cut up Khashoggi for Donald Trump's sake, okay, but he's a nice guy, and he's a really brilliant guy. It doesn't always go together with sorry, Greg, with common sense, right? He's a genius, and he works with Cornel West and Gayatri Spivak, thinks he's cool,
I
right?
mean, he probably is cool, but
Right.
this is about the same amount of common sense that I used when I ate those gas station mushrooms.
Okay,
Like,
so I might, I may not delete this part, but what the hell? I mean, you're out there in a part, you're out there in, in a you're out there in a public forum doing things like that. And so like anybody, in a journalist or anybody and it's a public figure, right? And I'm a journalist. I call people, right? I called him on that. And so anyway, I will just move along. So what I think I want to do is kind of wrap things up. So I want to go back to Dawn. And so Dawn, could you like um whatever plug whatever you want to plug and how people can get in touch with you, how people can contribute to the Four Feathers Press and Kingfisher Poetry Forum.
One loose end, I definitely want people to know about Marie Lecravain's website that she had run for several decades and doesn't anymore, but it's still there. It's called Poetic Diversity, and it's got hundreds of poets on it. So if you want to immerse yourself in poetry, that's a great place to start.
Yes, I mean she's been very kind to me and I have some work up there. So yes, respect for Marie Lecravain. Thank you.
Yeah. And as far as my press, Four Feathers Press, just Google Four Feathers Press. Apparently, it's the only one in the world.
I
So
like the
there you
name.
can find my very inexpensive blog spots where there's the call for poems and art.
And also you do this Saturday, you do some workshops as well, like every other Saturday or
Well, it's every Saturday, Saturday afternoon poetry. Again,
yeah,
the only Saturday afternoon poetry apparently in the world. You just Google Saturday afternoon poetry,
yes.
and you can see the schedule. It's a very simple schedule. Just the first Saturday of the month, we do a writing workshop. Second Saturday, critique. Third Saturday, a reading, and fourth Saturday, publication.
Yeah, and I've participated in this and it's very, very worthwhile.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. And then Destiny, uh, what do you want to plug your novel? Is as and
Um,
anything, your medium, whatever.
yeah, my book can be found on Amazon.com. Right now they are doing interviews to find somebody to do like an Audible to read my book on CD or whatever, however they do
Ossiana?
that. Yeah. So that's pretty awesome. I'm trying to find someone to publish my memoir that is called Confessions of a Healthcare Worker.
Well,
And
I am a publisher, so we might talk,
eh?
yes,
right?
because it gives you like firsthand look into what a healthcare worker goes through, especially like nurses, aides. It's a very brutal world, and I have a lot of PTSD from it
Sorry.
because what they
We
don't
can,
tell you is that you will often have to work with very combative patients who are either on drugs or have dementia. So you take a lot of abuse and you can't do anything about it. You have to keep going on and taking care of sometimes when we were shorthanded, 12 to 15 patients, which I didn't like because I didn't feel like they were getting the proper care. But I've done like home health care. I take care of my mother who has Parkinson's disease real bad. And so, yeah, I'm trying to find a publisher for that, get that out there. I'm still marketing my horror novel, and I'm working on essays to because I haven't been present on Medium as much as I would like. So I'm going to start trying to be more present on there.
Okay, cool. Thank you.
You're
And
welcome.
if people want to get in touch with you, they can friend you on Facebook or
Yes, Facebook. I'm
cool.
always on Facebook.
Okay, yes, so am I. And Oceana, plug away.
I have a Substack, I have a Medium, and I'm on almost all of Small Bear's upcoming books, I guess. And we might also be coming out with a manuscript that is based on it's a very heavily fictionalized account. But it's based on my time being 20 years old and uh, running the streets in New York City with a bunch of my friends who used to do a crap ton of drugs. Yeah.
I cannot wait to read that. Yeah, so
As I said, it's heavily fictionalized.
right. And so it's a roman clef or autofiction, essentially, or
Yeah.
kind of like those answered prayers, right? Truman Capote was a neat book, which he never published the full manuscript. He wanted to be Marcel Proust, right? And he never did it. He died before he published it, and he lost a lot of friends that way. But that was Truman Capote, and we're not Truman Capote, right? Um,
Nah.
okay, so and how can people get in touch with you? Like your Medium and Substack and
Um, I'm on Substack slash Ossiana, Ossiana,
okay,
and I'm also on Instagram at ossiana.makes.content.
okay.
Yep.
Okay, cool. I'd like to thank you all very much for participating in the Small Bear Show, and I love you. And I have this as a tradition. I have a tradition where we do a squeezy hug. Could we have a squeezins?
Sure.
Okay, squeezing. Okay, okay. I love you, and I'll see you soon.
See ya.